Marsh, and I'm here with my wife, Ash. And this is part of a series focusing on real estate and our roles as faith-driven investors. Investing has caused its fair share of brokenness in the world, perhaps most widely felt in real estate. A lot of times we point to greed, pride, selfish ambition, and so much in a system that seems to be so broken. Other times, something broken down in the public or private partnerships at the center of a city. We can walk down old main streets that are boarded up and crumbling. We hear people complain about the loss of industry and jobs. When we think of redemptive work, it's easy to see that in the heart of cities. So what does it look like to revitalize these historic centers, the very heart of a community? What's encouraging is that today we hear people who are investing to create jobs, revitalize communities, and lift people out of hopelessness. For that to happen and more, it takes all of us to come together for a common purpose and desire. Governments, cities, businesses, investors, we need to find beauty in broken things, and we need to improve places with one another.
John and I have dedicated ourselves to the resurrection of place in the historic downtown of Opelika, Alabama. Like so many small mill towns around the United States, Opelika's Main Street had deteriorated to a state of hopelessness and disrepair. One historic house in 1998 began more than a 20-year journey of redeeming a city. Today, our work of restoring over 250 properties and launching 60 small businesses in those 10 square blocks has become the gold standard for small town revitalization in the state of Alabama. But before we could make any renovations to a city, God needed to step in and redeem our lives and repair a marriage that was on the brink of collapse. Let's watch.
Within just a year or two after having our son Nelson, Ash and I were 3 days from divorce, going through fighting for custody of our son. I was a drug addict, and our lives were upside down. We were $1.5 million in debt, $99,000 overdrawn, and our whole life was falling apart. So the pressure of that was just building and building, and I kept hearing in the back of my mind, this life you have is not worth living. You ought to kill yourself. We had this old historic house, and I went up in the attic of it. And it was a junky old house that kind of represented our junky old life, just broken and needing of everything. And went in the attic of that house and moved the attic fan out of the way, had set up a rope, and I decided I was just going to hang myself, that if I would take my own life, it would be the very best thing that could happen. And during that time, something just moved me, cry out to a God I never knew. And I thought, oh my gosh, he was there all along. And I kept hearing kill myself, and he was going, die to yourself. And it sounded so similar. And when I went down those stairs, I met Ash just right after that. And we had been, of course, fighting through this divorce. I said, I got saved. And she said, you're a liar.
Yeah, I didn't believe him when he came downstairs and tried to tell me that he was different. I just thought it was one more thing that he was trying to do to manipulate me to stay or to do something that would cause me to lose Nelson. But about, let me see, that was probably April, May. By October, early November of that same year, I found out I was pregnant, but I was still having this affair with this other gentleman, mainly because I was scared to be left alone. I had someone on the side that would accept me and laugh with me and what I thought loved me, and I didn't want to let go of that just in case John was playing me. And so anyhow, yeah, I sat there pregnant, not knowing whose child I had. And it was terrifying. That's when those little seeds of maybe, but what if this is real? What if he really is that person that has changed? What if that means you can change? What if that means there's something greater in you? I was about right at 8 weeks pregnant and knew something was just wrong, you know? So I went to the doctor and he confirmed that I had lost the child. And so I just literally puddled on the floor in a heap and just cried the hardest I think I've ever cried. And I just sat there and was like, oh dear God, you've got to help me, get me away from me, you know? And I had the most wonderful experience from there. I stood up and I was so different, and I had not done anything. I had not done anything at all besides surrender.
Through years of counseling and lots of slowly decisions, we found one another and began to build a life that was amazing.
So for 7 years, literally 7 years, every week, we went to counseling. We ended up being, like the poster child for failed marriages, but for people that just wanted a glimpse of hope.
We just attracted broken people because they were attracted to our story, that there's hope for people who are broken, that there's beauty in broken things. That was not just what happened to us, but that's what God wanted to do through us. What do you say, Vega? Remember, we're doing rolling doors on those. So we started our construction company with $1,000. Ash would teach our son during the day, and I'd go out and do rot repair on houses, working for just a little bit of money and one paycheck at a time. God was working on our skill set. You know, God doesn't waste time. He's always taking what you're doing and weaving it into where you're going. Coming together. We began to put our heart, all of our resources, our time, energy, and our dreams into this little small town, Opelika, which we say it's kind of like Opelika.
We decided that we wanted to be right here where we had our first child. Everything, all of our first happened right here within a block away. We believe that hyper-focus in any area can change it. And so we just decided to stay here. So we have a real estate company that has over 100 pieces of property, primarily locally, within 10 blocks of this where we're sitting right now. From that, developed our construction company because we actually couldn't afford to hire other contractors.
Now we're a historic renovation business.
And out of that came our architectural salvage business.
We're a restaurant group with multiple restaurants. We have a consulting company that's my primary focus, which is helping people restore cities. We call ourselves Marsh Collective now because I've tried to find a way to bring together multiple companies, multiple entities, multiple ownerships into a singular way to communicate.
What I believe we're trying to accomplish is community in the truest sense. Literally, your neighbors are leaning up against the fence talking to each other, like trusting each other, having hard conversations, but understanding that those hard conversations don't bring differences. They bring understanding.
And we're going in and helping people in towns from 800 all the way to 80,000 people turn their towns around and make them amazing places.
So you want me to take this off and sit the door out here with this long?
Yeah, just frame it back. What we realized is that when it comes to saving communities, the capital it takes to do that is in 3 ways. It's patient capital, it's properly aligned capital, and then it's also productive capital. Yeah, let's do that then.
Okay, so
we'll tear this off.
These 2 doors.
Okay. And so when we say patient capital, they have to understand it's 3 to 5 years, 7 years sometimes at the outside for it to really begin to be the kind of investment that investors are used to oftentimes.
So which way would you like this one open?
I mean, it's up to you, whatever you think.
It's either that way or that way.
Properly aligned, people have to have vision and values. The vision means they want it to be saved. The values is that they want to make a generational difference. And then last, the productive part. We think cities should have return of your capital and then return on your capital. Because what happens is we've seen cities where people try to build them only through benevolence, and what we found out is that's not a sustainable model. But we knew this: if we could build things that were sustainable, profitable, and thoughtful, that they could have a very long life. And so we dream 50, 75, and 100 years for our city, and then we help others dream that for theirs.
The priority goal for us is to find out who this loving God is. Seems pretty cool that he would meet us in the place that he did, because it wasn't in where we told we had to be to meet him. It wasn't in a church, and it wasn't in this special moment of a certain song being played or someone praying with us, you know? It was just us, raw, dirty, jacked up us.
There is hope. You know, that God loves idiots, that God still takes broken things and does beautiful things, that there is an amazing God that still does amazing things. And what we do is we try to translate hope into every environment, that there is hope. All Ash and I want to do is help people restore cities through the lens of redemptive real estate. Our goal is to connect and create community while promoting the flourishing of cities with a model that makes your economics teacher and your Sunday school teacher happy. This is often found in towns that most people might overlook. We coined the term irreplaceable real estate to describe places built by people who don't live anymore, with materials we don't have access to anymore, and methods we don't do anymore, and with entitlements and approvals we can't get approved anymore. And all this has been done with love. Because our story is grounded in how God redeemed us, the type of people most people might overlook, it's as if these towns were made for us. They come to us with stories of brokenness, much like the ones we've lived. From that, we can find hope for the future together. We are investors, creators, and encouragers of restoration of amazing places. We believe there's a new asset class being recognized and organized around irreplaceable real estate. It has professional management, aligned and authentic strategies, and thoughtful development. This type of capital and care applied to historic downtowns creates amazing long-term investments and community value that is unmatched. We love the fact that what we invest in hires people and keeps the capital within the community. Our underlying why is that we believe God cares about places. Throughout the Bible, he is consistently telling people to go to certain places. Jesus' last word to his followers include a list of cities. Place is important to God. The extravagant love we have received brings about a longing to requirements to make us positive differences wherever we find ourselves planted. We know that we can help bring about human flourishing by adding value to people and places that are considered of little or no value because of their brokenness. So for us, we see broken down buildings, abandoned cities, and we see places where God wants to be actively involved in the lives of people. When we look at the town of Opelika, we see a place that has great art, food, and strong history. But places are like wheelbarrows. Some ways gotta push them. And it takes consistent stewardship of capital to bring those characteristics to the forefront. We have created amazing models to do this, but it's really 80% models and 20% miracles. That's our plan. Our prayer is that we have front row seats to miracles. Isn't that what faith-driven investors are called to do? To see the virtues of God, the glimpses of his nature and his personality in people and places and things, and then do what we can to bring that about? That's what we're doing in Opelika. We're dredging through what many would overlook to help them see that God is there and that he's been there all along.
What we realized is that when it comes to saving communities, 3 types of capital are required: patient capital, properly aligned capital, and productive capital. We mentioned this in the story that you just watched, but here it is again in greater detail. For patient capital, we tell investors they have to be in this for 3, 5, and sometimes 7 years. That's the time horizon that we operate on. There's often a desire to see immediate returns that are really good, but that's not always our experience. When we first started to go to counseling for our marriage, we had no plans of doing that weekly for 7 years. Yet, here we are now. The patience required to restore our marriage isn't unlike that required to restore a city. When it comes to properly aligned capital, we believe that people need to share the same vision and values. For the vision, they need to want to see the town saved and restored. The values are that they want to work to happen on the right timeline and in the right way. We're talking about creating generational differences here, and it's so important for us to share a destination and directions for how we hope to get there. Lastly, there's productive capital. We think restoring cities should come with a return of your investment and a return on your investment. What we see is that when people rebuild cities out of sheer benevolence, those towns lack sustainability. The change won't last. But we've learned that if we can build things that last, things that are sustainable, profitable, and thoughtful, they can have a very long lifespan. While we're working with investors who are on a time horizon of a few years, we operate with 50, 75, or 100 years into the future in our minds. That's the dream we have for the cities we restore. This is a multi-generational investment, and this is what we dream for Opelika. In the same way that the restoration of a marriage ripples down through children and grandchildren, we believe that a town restored, rebuilt, and rejuvenated affects not just the people who live there today, but those who will come after as well. When 60 people come together, knowing that they have the capital to fix what's happened in their city, you have no idea what God can do through that group. This is the framework we use when we look at investing in places, but we think the same is true for anything a believer puts their money into. We're not only seeking an immediate impact, an immediate return, we have an eternal time horizon. We also don't invest in businesses that hold up a different set of values from what we've learned from God. And we don't invest in anything less than excellence, because good work done well honors God. God is still in the business of taking broken things and turning them into something beautiful. He's done that in our lives, He's done it in our towns, our businesses, and He offers anyone who will follow Him the same thing.
Today we put love on the income statement and balance sheet, and we've taken business principles and applied them to our marriage. After our boys left the house, Ash came to me and basically said, look, I didn't marry you to be away from you. I married you to be with you. So I stepped back as a business leader and Ash stepped forward. She's running all of our businesses now, and we've dreamed about growing and building things together. I've quickly learned that if I make a decision without Ash, that's a half-brain decision. She has full veto power. The last time I didn't listen to her, when she shared a feeling from the Holy Spirit and I responded with my logic, it cost us $7 million. I haven't overrun her since. I know now that feelings ain't nothing and logic ain't everything. We take the same level of detail when we steward hundreds of millions of dollars worth of businesses with our clients and real estate around the country, and we apply them to our marriage. Every week we have a visionary integrator meeting for our marriage to make sure we're doing what can be high impact for us as a couple. It's more important to me than any other meeting I have. That transformation from being a few days away from divorce to working side by side is supernatural. It could only be done by God.
I feel very privileged to be in the businesses that John and I have created together and doing what we do best, which is touching on people and places and changing the hearts of people and towns. John would be the first to tell you that he is great at startup. He is great at expansion, but he is terrible at stabilization. Now I get to come in and pick up what he has started and carry forward the work that we get to do together. I love it. What we hope to do through our work and through telling God's story of our lives is to show that there's hope for restoration. There's hope for redemption, not just in businesses and buildings, but in people's lives. We care about helping other entrepreneurs, businesses, city lovers, leaders, and also couples who long to do work together, who want to do this life side by side and feel like they can use one another's gifts no matter how diverse they are. If we can restore people's ability to have open eyes and to hope that God can and will do amazing things, that He can fix broken things, then I believe that's the greatest gift that we can give. We know if there is hope in your future, there is power in your present.
Fixing what is broken doesn't happen all at once. It takes perseverance, it takes patience, it takes faithfulness to follow God's lead. But as Ash said, if there is hope in your future, there's power in your present. How can fixing something broken lead to telling God's story that there is hope in restoration? What investment opportunity is right in front of you? What steps can you take to make the investment a reality? And how do you plan to see it through, not just for the short term, but for many years to come? Spend some time in your group talking about the session and how it relates to the journey you're on. Open yourself up to learning from one another. Be honest with each other. What you get out of this time together will be as enriching and life-giving as what you put into it. Join us in the next session as we look at the opportunity and adventure in real estate. See you then.
Faith-Driven Investor is a discipleship ministry from Faith-Driven Movements, a non-profit corporation whose mission is to inspire and mobilize people to use their time, talent, and resources to impact the world around them. The materials are for informational purposes only. All investing carries risk, so be sure to consult an advisor before making any investment decisions. Hosts and guests may maintain positions in the companies and securities discussed. For all other questions, please visit faithdriveninvestor.org.